Hey, I just started the stream. That's just I just recorded it, so we're live on the stream only. We got we got 6.5 before we go live satellite, so it's all good. So if you guys streamers are watching the show, welcome to the show, and we are going to get started. It's going to be the Chief Ralph, Lieutenant Jeff show of the day. So we're going to get started here in we're about 6 minutes away from going satellite radio. So in the meantime, if you guys have any questions or anything you want to type on the screen for us to discuss, feel free to. I said we've already got Sergeant George on from Hayward, California. A couple of weeks ago, he was at Mardi Gras, texting us from, or, streaming from Mardi Gras. But anyhow, it's 55 degrees in Hayward, California. Where are you at again, Ralph? And what's the temperature over there?
Huntington Beach, 60 degrees this morning, beautiful, sunny. Yesterday was 85, too hot. Jeff, you remember when the Santa Ana winds come in? It's so damn dry and hot. My skin on top of my head was ready to peel open,
Yeah.
We don't get that here in Ohio.
You don't get that in Ohio? No. We got 31 degrees in Northwest Colorado where MVS is at. So, wow.
Hey, Jeff, you remember this? Bacon to Vegas.
Oh, Bacon to Vegas, yeah. Yeah, that used to be my my yearly thing. I trained pretty hard for that. They used to always put me on the hill legs because I was a billy goat. I could go up hills as fast as I could run flat.
Hey, Jeff, you remember Scott Mayfield?
Yeah. That guy was world class.
He qualified in 1980 Olympics for a marathon.
Yeah, was that right?
Yeah, I put him through the academy in 1987, class 236.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
he ran a 33:10K without any effort. No effort at all. That was a Sunday jog.
You remember the sheriff's 500 test? So we timed him. He ran the mile and a half in 7:13 or something. He wasn't even pushing.
That's crazy.
Chip, you should have seen this guy run.
That right? Yeah, I'm not too. I tried running. From since my surgery, I just I'm limping still. I cannot. I just can't. I can walk normal, but I just can't running. Just there's a little bit. It's the weirdest thing. It's not a lot. It's not a lot of pain. It's just a little bit, but I cannot make my body not limp. It's the weirdest thing. Because if you limp, then you can get hip problems. You guys know you can get all kinds of issues if you favor one leg over the other. So I have to do a run walk. It's aggravating because if I could just, get my mind to handle the little bit of pain that it is and not limp, I'd be able to do it. But it's just the craziest thing. So anyhow, the doctor said that at the 1 year mark, that pain, I shouldn't have that pain at all. So anyhow, we'll see. I can still play tennis and do that stuff, but yeah, just the running on the asphalt, man, just killing me.
I don't run anymore. I just walk.
No. Yeah,
that's my neck surgery. Can't run.
Yeah. I like. Well, you know what? I love swimming. I love the results I get from swimming, but I don't get the impact from swimming. So I do like to get out there on the pavement because I like that. That building that bone density. From the impact. I do like that part of the running. But I don't run a lot. I don't run near as much as I used to. Just because your body, it's a lot of wear and tear on the body. So. But,
hey Jeff, if I could divert for the conversation, I love that painting behind your right shoulder of you, and that's really nice. I know you have it in the book too. That's really nice.
Yeah, it was a photograph that was taken that a friend of mine who she worked for me. She's retired from the job. She found her artistic ability after she retired. She had no idea she had this.
Isn't that weird?
And now she paints professionally, and she did that portrait for me.
That's really great. That's really great.
Yeah. Hey, just out of curiosity, Jeff, what kind of microphone are you using?
I'm just using the computers.
Okay. All right.
Yo también. Same thing.
We're 2 minutes, guys, out. We are live on LinkedIn. I checked all that. MVS and everybody over there at Rumble. And of course, we're live on StreamYard, which means we're also live on looks like YouTube and the Facebook pages as well. So thanks for watching the show, guys. We appreciate it. All right. And what's going on here? Anaheim, California. Does anyone on the panel or other streamers have plans on attending the Breaking Benjamin We Are Not Alone tour coming up on Saturday, October 3rd in Anaheim, California? Where does he get these things? Yeah, I'm going to be there. Yeah, I guess he's expecting you guys to be there. So
I don't even know what I'm doing next week. Yeah,
I know what I'm doing. It's whatever my wife tells me I'm doing. I got an FOP meeting the night. I got, we got the steak dinner. Well, it used to be steak dinner. It's being catered by Carrabba's or somebody tonight. But the second Monday of the month, we go to the FOP. We have our dinners and meetings and camaraderie kind of a thing. It's kind of nice. You get to see all these, guys you used to work with. A lot of old timers, a lot of guys that were there before I started my law enforcement career, and now there's new guys that have started. I retired 12 and a half years ago, which is just crazy. And I was down at the TPD Academy on Friday with the guys, the glove guys. We were down there doing a demonstration. So it was just kind of cool. And, all these guys, that are, I was a DET instructor. So these defensive tactics instructor, they all stood in line. They all wanted to get gloved, right? There's one dude on the SWAT team, newer guy, younger guy, didn't want any part of it. Didn't want to. There were two guys that would absolutely refuse to get gloved, and I was just thinking, man, if I was a chief and they came in my office telling me whether or not they get the glove or not, I'd tell them to step out. They don't even know what it feels like. Just I'm very disappointed. So, but here we go. We're going radio, guys. Put your seatbelts on. It's going to be a wild ride. Here we go. All right, guys, and welcome to Leo Roundtable at leoroundtable.com. My name is Chip the Block, and I'm your host, and we're a group of law enforcement professionals to talk about today's news and issues, but we do it from a law enforcement perspective. Let me go and introduce the crew, and guys, if you don't mind waiting for the video portion of our show, yes, we have Chief Ralph Ornelas. He's retired from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. I got it right. I even said department because you guys don't have offices over there in California. And then he became a police chief out there as well, and never quite left California, so he is still there. And then we got Jeff Wenninger, retired commander LAPD, and retired as a lieutenant. He's migrated over to. He's living the life in Ohio. Don't let him fool you with anything else that he says. He's living the dream. So thanks for being on the show, gentlemen. I appreciate it. We've got some interesting main stories, and what I would like to do is just to go ahead and take this first one, and then get the wheel running on the second one, and then we'll go through the rest of the stories. And I'd also like to kind of run through our sponsors that we have too. And guys, please support our sponsors. They go to great lengths to bring this good quality content to you. We've got our title sponsor, Gulls at Gulls.com. We also have CompliantTechnologies.com, our satellite sponsor. We have Gunlearn.com, my Medicare.live, Safeguard Recruiting. And they're our streaming sponsor. Thanks to Safeguard, we're streaming to over 1 million followers right now during the live show. And also TwoBells.com. They built a new online store at LeoRoundtable.com. You can go there to our online store. You just go to LeoRoundtable.com. Upper right-hand corner, you got the online store. You can get cool gear like the shirt Jeff's wearing, or like the mug behind me. We've got a lot of cool gear. We don't charge anything extra. I saw that face, Ralph. We don't charge anything extra for the gear that we sell. We're just trying to get our gear out there. So also a shout out to Brian Burns for the Tampa Free Press at TampaFP.com. Thanks for carrying our content, Brian. Also Ray Dietrich with formerlawman.com, and our very own Travis Yates with lawofficer.com. Thanks to all those entities for helping make the show happen. And now our first story, it's taken from Tampa Free Press, which is TampaFP.com. From the Octagon to the border, Oklahoma Senator Mark Wayne Mullins' hardline path to DHS power. And of course, we're talking about Department of Homeland Security. So this is a little shakeup last week. President Donald Trump confirmed on Thursday that Oklahoma Senator Mark Wayne Mullins will take over as Secretary of Department of Homeland Security by the end of the month. Now, this is huge for law enforcement. We're going to start seeing a lot more of this guy. Mullins, he's a member of the Cherokee Nation, former mixed martial arts fighter. Don't pick a fight with him. He represented Oklahoma's 2nd congressional district for a decade, and then he won a special election to become a senator back in 2022. And throughout his time in Washington, it goes on to say that he established a reputation as a staunch advocate for rigorous border enforcement, which is a good thing because of where he's going. He previously supported the use of military resources at the southern border. He was a vocal proponent of constructing an actual physical wall, for the border during Trump's first term. The leadership change comes at a high stakes moment of the department. Recent weeks were marked by the fallout of Operation Metro Surge, is talking about that joint ICE and Border Patrol operations where we had a couple people killed. And of course, they it wasn't like they were good people, even though Renee's last name was Good, but we had that Renee Good and Alex Pretty that ended up getting killed, but they were bad actors. In a statement released Thursday, Mullen addressed recent controversies by defending the actions of law enforcement. He specifically spoke on the Minneapolis shooting, arguing that the agents involved faced immediate physical danger. Mullen stated that he looks forward to executing the mission of, quote, restoring law and order, unquote, and safeguarding the American people. He is scheduled to officially start as Secretary of Homeland Security on March 31st. So, guys, write that date down. Curious what your take is, gentlemen, on this with the little law. I mean, I'm trying not to really focus so much on the rumor mill on why it happened. It just I'm trying to focus on the fact that it happened. But I'm pretty excited about it. What do you guys think? Ralph, you want to start us off?
Yeah, I'm excited about it too, to see how he addresses some of the issues that were coming out and some of the negativity with the previous person in that position, to see how he corrects some of the policies and how his voice kind of in line with Tom Homan. I believe that Wayne Mullen, I think he has a good resume, and he's got some bipartisan support. Fetterman and Welch, who are Democrats, supporting his nomination. And I like the fact that he's going to continue some of this strength on the border. We need to strengthen the border. We need to do it. But I also hopefully that he puts some good regulations in with some of the officers, the operations that have been taking place. And some of the things that Democrats have recommended, we spoke about the last time you and I, Chip, and Dr. Joel, some of their recommendations a little bit over at the top about handcuffing some of the officers, but I think the body-worn camera, I believe, is important to capture some of the activity. So go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, the reality is, Christy Nome, she was over her head. She didn't have the qualifications, and she misspoke a few times. Her narrative and the messaging was off, and she's going to have an uphill battle. And it looks like there's some other things that may be coming down the pike that basically would have disqualified her from holding that type of critical position. I, as well as Ralph, am encouraged by the Democrats that are happy with this appointment. I think the success is going to be the ability to work cooperatively with local and state entities, and working together where you're utilizing all your resources towards a shared goal. And hopefully he'll be able to do that. He seems to be aligned with Holman. Holman did a great job when he replaced Nome in Minneapolis, and I was able to go move forward in a way that I believe was successful. So I think it was a good move. It's definitely an improvement. But boy, what a tough position. It's probably one of the toughest positions to be in at this time in our country's history.
If I could add to it what Jeff said, with Christy Nome, as I always said when I was a drill instructor to all the other drill instructors, don't give recruits too much airtime. They start believing in their articles or the commentary. Christy Nome believed in all these positive ways she looked and stuff like that, and she failed. She failed on that. And I think that it's bitter in the butt, to be honest with you. And also, I really have to say this too, though, and I want to hear from Jeff when I make this comment, and you too, and the audience, Chip. I believe there needs to be more relevant training to ICE and CBP and crowd control. I like to know how do they handle a shooting? What supervisors are on there? What is their reviews of shootings? I mean, there's a lot of things when I look at some of the shootings that you send, Chip, as a supervisor, and I used to review this stuff. I know Jeff did a lot of it too. What is their policies that are put in place? Especially you have a video today later on of a nice shooting that turned out not to be so good. So there's a lot of training I think that needs to be reviewed with ICE and CBP.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that training is the core of what needs to be addressed for the success of law enforcement. Oftentimes, when we see deficiencies and less than optimal outcomes, it's not a situation where it's the individual officers or agents' fault. It's more the organizations. It's an extension of their failure to prepare them and train them to be able to be successful in these types of situations. And unfortunately, that's all about money, isn't it? Training costs a lot of money, and unfortunately, training oftentimes is the first thing to get nixed when you're talking about budgets and things like that.
I got to add to what Jeff said, though, Chip, in the audience, is that Jeff posted something just recently about the culture within an organization, too. And what is the culture addressing issues that need to be addressed? And sometimes some cultures, I know when I was in the sheriff's department, some of the things I went through, guess what? They stepped away from that, not addressing that culture. And here we go again. What is the training for sergeants in leadership, lieutenants in leadership?
I would like to see less. There's so many mistakes. Jeff touched on it with the previous director, or secretary, but there's such a rush to get the word out there after a shoot, and that's where a lot of missteps are made. You know what the other side's going to say, it's coming, but they just want to get that narrative out there, and in the process of doing that, they just say too much. The officer was hit, or he was moving, or they did this, they did that, and because there is a process that we have to go through, and I see more people than not get themselves in the grease by just not resisting the urge to say too much, and now they're committed, right? And when you're relying on other people, from what they're telling you, and the information is not vetted. So
that's key, because, and it's not just Christy Noem who should be criticized for that, because she's getting the information from some board that's all the way down the chain of command. And if you've had, I've had my hand in over 700 lethal force cases, whether investigating or adjudicating. And the reality is you don't really know what happened for a day or so. It's
at least
have branches of your investigation that are all going out and doing different aspects of it. And then you come back to the office the next day and you sit down at the table, you start triage, and then you have to go back out and put things together. It's 48 hours before you really have any clue what's going on. And so to be making those types of statements, it's just a lack of experience, I suppose. The more you do it, the better you get at it. And you certainly can't be making, anytime that I hear these conclusive statements within hours, I'm like, oh, this is going to blow up, because it's accurate.
Jeff, you're 100% right. It's education about how to handle the media, as a lieutenant, captain, whatever rank it is. And one of the things I feel gracious about and fortunate with the LA County Sheriffs, they did some training when I was coming up to the ranks about how to handle the press. Don't let the press dictate to you. And it goes back to having the proper information available.
Well, guys, we're getting ready to go to Ecuador on our next one. So stick with us. We got a commercial break coming up. We'll be right back. All right, guys, it's time to talk about Galls at Galls.com. And, as police officers, one of the things we do really, really well, we love to buy gear. And when you throw the online option, it's almost limitless, right? So I want to remind everybody, but really what's most important here, it's about supporting the companies that actually support law enforcement. And I don't know of a company that does that better than Galls at Galls.com. Even their motto, like the banner behind me says, it's proud to serve those who serve, which, of course, they do in spectacular fashion. Not only that, they walk the talk by supporting dozens of organizations like this radio show. So when you're looking for gear, please support our title sponsor by going to Galls at Galls.com, and they're going to do you one better. For the loyal listeners of the show, they've got a radio code. It's radio15. Type in radio15 in order to get 15% off your next purchase at Galls.com. That works on most purchases, and they have gift cards. Hook up your family, friends, and loved ones with the new Galls gift card, and they'll be your new best friends. And they pretty much have everything but guns and ammo, and that is all at Galls.com. Remember, again, that radio code, radio15 at Galls.com. You'll be glad that you did. All right, guys, 2 minutes before we come back to the radio portion of the show. I think we're off to a good start.
Yeah, you know, we had a shooting where it was a plainclothes detective that was involved, and not long after the shooting, the chief at the time came out and made a public statement that if not for the detective wearing a concealable body armor, perhaps he may have lost his life, and that it was a body armor that saved his life. And lo and behold, turns out he wasn't wearing any body armor, and that was just erroneous information that got to the chief, who thought it may be, politically expedient to put that out, because it demonstrated the risks that officers are under all the time. But then it turned out to be inaccurate, and he had to rescind that. And that's just a perfect example of slow your roll. Let's talk about this tomorrow. Brief me. I used to, as the officer in charge of the investigations, I would have to contact the chief and brief the chief while I was still out at scene. And it's just like, it's very preliminary, just very preliminary. Basically, this is what I'm seeing. But as far as my conclusions on what I believe occurred or didn't occur, I didn't even go there.
Yeah, and I really believe that some of the chiefs and people that speak in front of the press feel like an obligation to give more information. And what I used to do in front of the press when I had a gang shooting, is say, this is what we had, an officer involved shooting in this. This is a person was shot. I don't have any other information this time. When we do, we'll present it when all the investigation materials come to me and come to the department.
All right, guys, back to radio. Here we go. All right, guys, and welcome back. Leo Roundtable at leoroundtable.com, the law enforcement talk show. My name is Chip the Block, and I'm your host. We're joined by Chief Ralph Ornelas from California and former LAPD Commander Lieutenant Jeff Winninger. And guys, if you're ready, our next main topic, it's about Ecuador. You guys ready to make the jump? All right, so Tampa Free Press at tampafp.com. U.S. launches lethal anti-narco-terrorist operation in Ecuador, of all places. Now, not, depending on what sources you follow, there may not be a lot of information out there, like with some of this other stuff, like with Iran and stuff. So a lot of people may not be fully aware of this stuff. The United States military is supporting an anti-narco-terrorist operation in Ecuador, according to a Friday night release. And since September the 2nd, U.S. military forces have conducted multiple strikes against drug-running vessels. We all know about that, including sinking a boat with 11 members of Venezuela's Tren del Agua gang, and they have been designated, as we all know, a foreign terrorist organization by Trump, and back on January the 20th, and that was 2025. That was over a year ago. The statement noted that Ecuadorian forces were carrying out combat operations against terrorist groups, and it kind of goes on to say that that Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and I don't know about you guys, I have a new love for Marco Rubio. That dude is sharp, and I tell you, he is. For someone that was like this with Trump when they were both running for the same job, and the fact that Trump has taken him in and what they're doing together, it blows my mind. But anyhow, Secretary Marco Rubio designated 2 Ecuadorian gangs with ties to Mexico drug cartels. And, I know that, Ralph, you can pronounce these names better than I can. Los Choneros and Los Lobos. Hopefully I came close.
Choneros and Los Lobos. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I said. Anyhow, as for terrorist organizations,
I just wanted to say it.
This was done on September the 4th, 2025, so half a year ago. Trump designated Mexican drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations when he took office, and that was at Trump 2.0. The United States, in partnership with Ecuador and its president, Daniel Noboa, they will continue to protect both nations by keeping illicit drugs off the streets, disrupting revenue streams, funding cartel terrorism and criminal activity. And this is all through the State Department, which is where Rubio is shining right now. And some other titles. The next title was Rubio and Noem launch Shield of the Americas to crush cartels and secure borders. And Kristi Noem, of course, has been moved to that new position now. And also, we got Trump declares war on cartels, 17-nation military coalition formed to demolish networks. And that's nothing short of being brilliant. But I know this is your wheelhouse, Ralph, and so I'm going to let you take it from here and kind of clue us in on what's going on. So So educate us. Ralph School is now in session.
Well, I'm not going to. I'm not an expert. Like I said on Randy Sutton's show, I'm a student of the game still, and I'll tell you this: is that I like what our country's doing. We need to put these cartels in the gangs on the heels. I look back in even the 90s when we had some military people go down to Colombia to work with the DEA, worked with the Colombian government, and that's how we eradicated the Colombian Medellin cartel and the Cali cartel. I also believe that when I was working in Central America, the collaboration between the FBI, the DEA, LA County Sheriff's, LAPD, investigators from Jeff's agency, we work collaboratively, and we have to have this coordination of intelligence. Intelligence, I call it the blood triangle. The blood triangle is from the south of Central America to the East Coast and West Coast of the United States to share information and caseload. We started doing that. I believe what's taking place right now, speaking to some of my friends in Central America, is what's taking place between the DEA, the FBI, the military, and I believe Marco Rubio and some of the military and these federal agencies, with the help of some of the countries in Central America, especially with Bukele, Guatemala's government, and Honduras's government, they're starting to build that bridge, that team partnership to share this information because they know, number one, if we don't do this, it's going to affect economy. It's going to affect the governments, the economy, each of us, their people, the safety of the people within our countries. You look at what's taken place in the last 5 years of our country with fentanyl poisonings is over 500,000 deaths, poisonings from the ages of 10 years old to 45 years old. And I'll tell you, put politics aside, just strictly what is the right thing to do to protect our youth of our future, of our country. We need to have this collaboration to make this move right now. And I believe we have a person in leadership, Marco Rubio, and some of the military to be able to do that. Go ahead, Jeff. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, really the only thing that I can think of is that oftentimes in law enforcement, we have people that build up unbelievable levels of expertise. And then it's time for them to pull their pin, they retire. And unfortunately, we don't draw on that expertise any further. And, Marco Rubio working with Kristi Noem, this is a very, very important aspect for national security. As Ralph said, not just economically, but for the physical safety of Americans within our borders. But the reality is that people like Ralph need to be reached out to be appointed to these types of positions, or at least be consultants on them, because he was doing this back when these people were bumping their heads off of coffee tables. And the reality is he knows the history, he knows how things have evolved over time, and he can give them better direction than probably Kristi Noem's going to know what to do with, if that makes any sense. And I'm not trying to bash her. I'm just saying what a waste of resource of information, knowledge, and expertise that people like Ralph have that aren't being utilized. And I'd love to see it better utilized, even in his retirement years.
If I could just say this to the audience and both of you, and I know we only got 36 seconds. What LAPD did, Gary Brennan was the deputy chief, I was lieutenant, and with the FBI, we created a Central American Law Enforcement Exchange Program. If we could have kept up that model from then before in 2006 to 2012 to now, we would have been ahead of the game.
All right, excellent point. Good words, guys. I think it's fun to bring you out of retirement, Ralph. Hey, it's time for our next commercial break. We'll be right back. All right, guys, it's time to talk about Comply Technologies at complytechnologies.com. And they are committed to providing non-lethal solutions to help officers gain the upper hand safely and rapidly in a humane, low-ethics manner, utilizing their CD3, which stands for Conductor Distraction and De-escalation Technology. Now, their flagship product, we all know by now, is called the Glove. It's helped officers not only tens of thousands of times, but they've had over 250,000 deployments with no injuries. And you heard that correctly. I said no injuries. The Glove has actually achieved non-lethal status in an arena that predominantly can only offer less lethal results. And when it comes to weapons retention, transitioning to a sidearm or conductive energy weapon, the Glove at ComplyTechnologies.com, they virtually eliminated weapons confusion. So stay ahead of the game with Comply Technologies and the revolutionary CD3 that hundreds of agencies have already turned to nationwide. And friends, take it from me, when it comes to safety, this is one of the most common sense hands-on solutions that's ever come along. So go to ComplyTechnologies.com today and tell them that Chip sent you. Again, that is ComplyTechnologies.com. Check it out. You'll be glad you did. All right, 4 minutes, guys, before we come back to the radio portion. All right, moving right along.
You know, Ralph, it's interesting that you mentioned Gary Brennan, because I remember when he retired, and there was a moment where a number of us were sitting around, and we were talking about the expertise that was going to be lost just by losing that one individual. And that's one of the failures of law enforcement, is that we allow that expertise to leave the organization without leaving the imprint in the past. And like you said, had what was accomplished between the LA County Sheriff's Department and the LAPD and working with the federal entities, we'd be ahead of the game at this point. But he retires, and now it's all lost. And we just see that over and over and over again, unfortunately.
You know, I'll share this with you. I was really intimidated by Gary Brennan, and we were down in El Salvador. And my uncle Gabe worked for his father, but Gary Brennan worked for my uncle. And I called my uncle up. I said, Gabe, he intimidates me as Ralph. Gary's a great guy, but he gives that exterior. When we got down there, he laid out. He goes, Ralphie, and he called me Ralphie, was a surprise. He goes, you handle the academy down there, you handle patrol, and you handle gangs. I'll deal with all the administration, evaluate the Salvadorian police's whole administration and structure. And we did that. And we gave we collaborated. We gave an unbelievable briefing in the United States Embassy in this round room with a lot of alphabet agencies in there. And Gary's is so eloquent. God rest his soul. But also, egos getting away with it, gentlemen. Egos.
Yeah, I remember when I lateraled over from LA Sheriff's to LAPD, he was in charge of the academy. And there were 7 of us in my lateral class. And he brought us into his office. And like you said, I experienced that same thing. He was intimidating. I mean, he was an older gentleman at the time, but man, was he fit. He had a uniform appearance that commanded respect.
Really?
I mean, he was just shoulders back, just sharp as can be, very well spoken and articulate. And but what he did is he said, I want to hear what you guys have to say. I want you to make me better. How can we improve this program? Because we were the first lateral class, under his command, and for decades they didn't have lateral classes, and this was something that they were looking at doing. So he was trying to create it. So he was open. He was open to, the brand new people from other law enforcement agencies coming over to the LAPD, sitting in his office, telling him how they can do it better. And I was always just so impressed with him. And then later down in my career, I would be briefing him on officer-involved shooting cases when he had to sit on the use of force boards and things like that. And he'd be the chair. And I was just so impressed with him. So impressed.
Me too. And we had a good time at the Sheraton El Presidente Hotel in San Salvador, smoking cigars and actually relaxing over a drink with the FBI. How do we address this? How do we build this bridge? How do we build this program? And we did it. We did it. Not me. We.
Yeah, he was good people. You would have liked him, Chip.
Yeah, I like him already. I'm trying to, I have a picture in my head of what he looked like just from your description. But yeah, I think we've known guys like that. We had a guy like that in Tampa that went to go work for the sheriff's office, and didn't turn out too well for him though. He ended up in prison. So, but I'm just saying that guy with that command presence, and when he opened up his mouth, he was just like this. Everything you would think law enforcement would be, but everybody would just like drop everything they're doing when he walked into a room. He just had that command presence. But there was some other stuff I'll tell you about later. So, hey, we're going back, guys. We're going back in. Here we go. All right, guys, welcome back. Leo Roundtable at leoroundtable.com, the law enforcement talk show. My name is Chip the Block, and I'm your host. And we've got Chief Ralph Ornelas from California, former LAPD Commander, Lieutenant Jeff Winninger on the show as well. We just got done talking about our joint venture with Ecuador, and golly, Marco Rubio tearing it up. We got some other stuff that's going to be coming down the pike on this as well. Guys, if there's something else, great. If not, I want to get rolling. We're halfway through the show, and we've got some more stuff to cover, so if that's okay. And we are streaming. We got a lot of guys like Danny Thomas on Facebook that's watching the show. So thanks for the support, guys. We appreciate it. If you guys have any questions or anything that you want us to weigh in on, and if we can get to it, we will be watching, streaming, watching for those. So moving along here, our next one that we've got, I know that we got a couple videos here, and let me just see here. I'm looking at what I'm gonna hold on to that Minneapolis one. Let's jump into a video real quick here. Rumble.com, our favorite law enforcement video channel called This Is Better. We have a body cam. It's a video. They say it contradicts ICE claims in a fatal shooting of a U.S. citizen, Ruben Ray Martinez. Now, I got to tell you, like most of the time these things come out, the details under this video, at least in my opinion, are heavily slanted. And because they're coming up with a conclusion in the title and in the details that simply, in my opinion, cannot be verified from the video. It's pretty, I wouldn't say it's poor quality video. It's just what the video shows is just not, it's just not at the critical points in time that would answer all the questions. And then it's just a video. There's so many other components and things that come into play in addition to a video in order to make a good educated decision on this. But South Padre Island, Texas, video of a March 2025. Now think about that. I didn't say 2026. So this is over a year ago, fatal shooting of an American citizen and, Ruben Ray Martinez. They say that it appears to contradict claims by the feds that Martinez was shot by, well, I'm going to say he's our bad guy because the video clearly established that this guy's running past law enforcement in his car and not obeying commands. But they're saying that it counters the claims by the feds that he was shot by an immigration officer, an ICE agent, because he, quote, accelerated and, quote, intentionally ran over another agent with his car. Now, it says the killing of Martinez, who was 23 at the time in South Padre Island, Texas, on March 15th. So it's almost been a year. That it was reported by the local news outlets at that time. We didn't really hear much about it, but it was not until February of this year, 11 months later, that ICE confirmed that one of his agents had actually done the fatal shot to Martinez. In an internal report released by a nonprofit watchdog group last month, ICE said Martinez accelerated forward and struck an agent during the March 2025 incident. Now, the Department of Homeland Security claimed in a statement that an ICE agent had fired defensive shots into the bad guy's vehicle, Martinez's vehicle, after he, quote, intentionally ran over, unquote, another agent. And now they're going on saying the body cam video, which has not been previously reported, it shows the Martinez's vehicle, a blue Ford Fusion, was stationary or going at a very low rate of speed when he was fatally shot. And it said when the gunshots were heard in the video that you can see the brake lights on the vehicle that they're on. It said that after he was shot 3 times, we can see, and you can see the bad guy being pulled out of the car, thrown to the ground by an ICE agent, face down, and handcuffed. They make it sound like it's a big deal that they didn't provide first aid for the guy until after he was cuffed. That's standard protocol for a lot of places, though. The Texas Department of Public Safety, they said that they did an investigation and that the grand jury declined to return criminal indictments in the case. So, and again, I know that a lot of jurisdictions, a lot of jurisdictions, especially when you're dealing with the feds, they're going to run things through for a grand jury. Sometimes that's routine. But anyhow, this is the information that we have. And we have a video that I would say is of limited benefit. But I'm curious what you guys think. So, Jeff, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, when I watch this video, I have to agree with you, Chip. It doesn't tell me one way or another. I certainly would not put that video on a pedestal in regards to my argument that it was contrary to what was actually reported. Um, you have to be able to put into context a lot of things, and I don't think that video does. And listen, when you look at video, you can break it down and go frame by frame, but that's not how we as humans biologically process incidents, especially rapidly unfolding tactical scenarios. You're making split-second decisions in highly stressful circumstances, and what appears to be seen on video is not necessarily what is going to be perceived by somebody, and there's explanations of that relative to the biology of people and how our brains operate. So I watched this video and I gleaned nothing from it, but I can tell you this much: it certainly did not cause me to have the conclusions that the article kind of insinuated that it should.
Yeah. Imagine that. Yeah. So I guess they didn't get the desired effect. I've seen so many videos, because we've been doing this for over 10 years now. I've seen so many videos where even the sound is not in sync with the video. And I'm talking not necessarily off massively, but even if the sound is off by a second or even a half a second, that can be pretty critical, when you're doing, video review and stuff. So, Chief Rao?
No, Jeff eloquently laid it out. I'll be honest with you. I watched that 5 times last night and this morning when I got up at 5:30. To prepare for this, before I go out and walk on the pier to do my exit. But I was confused by it. It was like bits and pieces and commands yelled, and listen, just like Jeff, I've reviewed a lot of videos in patrol and in custody for force, and this is the one time, Chip, you sent me some that I felt I couldn't nail down a lot of things tactically, I liked or disliked, and stuff like this. It was like floating, and so I don't know. It just didn't bode well with me, the whole thing.
Yeah, if this is what they have after, we're just days away from the 1 year mark on this. If this is the best they've got in order to throw out a bad narrative after a year after the incident, that in my opinion, it's reaching. I mean, if there's so much more that would be out there that would show it was a bad shoot. And I'm not saying one way or the other, because I really haven't heard about this. But I would love to see body cam. It's kind of sad that I'm on the show saying that I kind of wish that we had more of these guys outfitted with body cams, which I'm actually saying. But 15 years ago, you wouldn't have heard me say that. That was when, if you remember, even my agency, when I left 12 and a half years ago, we were just rolling out the body cams to the Tampa cops. And it was a slow rollout. I was with the union. Guys didn't want any part of it. The union didn't even really want it. We didn't know what was going to happen. Now, of course, we've seen the upside of that. But one downside I have to say is that when I used to go to the court and testify, the judge would take our word over a citizen's, and our testimony would weigh heavier than what it does today. Now I've seen courts to where, absent a video showing that the officer is telling the truth or justifying his actions, they're gonna side in the civilian's favor, and it's just amazing that within a decade and a half where we've gone from we just gone to that extreme.
If I can make one comment, though, that really kind of perplexed me, is that I understand after the officer's handcuffed, that's fine. We did it all the time. We don't know if the person's got a weapon and why they pull them out, they handcuff them, right? But once the paramedics came on site, let the paramedics do their professional job in treating a person. And I see the HSI people putting patches and chest compressions. Let the paramedics do the job. Let the paramedics. If you notice, though, there's a supervisor of paramedics. He was videotaping everything. I don't know if you noticed that, Jeff. He was videotaping them.
I didn't pick up on that.
And I wonder why, because he's going to capture. We got a shooting here. The fire department may go through trainings, and we're going to document when we have shootings involving interagencies. Maybe, I don't know, but he's behind them videotaping the whole thing. and the officers are still treating this person. I would have just I don't know about you, Jeff, if the paramedics get there, I would have just let the paramedics do their job.
No, I tend to agree. You know, we had some stuff with the LAPD and the LA City Fire Department where we had some bad blood and it dealt with these people. You know, the excited delirium. I know we don't call it that anymore, but you know, these people that are juiced up on drugs and they're oftentimes naked and have this physical exertion, and then they end up dying. And we as an organization are trying to figure out how best to deal with these people. And you know, oftentimes law enforcement or the fire department would show up while law enforcement's already on the scene, and we would be dictating to the medical practitioners what we should or shouldn't be doing. And they took offense to that, and would oftentimes blame us for their inability to provide the medical treatment that needed to be done. So I'm not unfamiliar with that.
All right, guys, third commercial break. Stick with us. We'll be right back. All right, time to talk about GunLearn at gunlearn.com. You know, as law enforcement officers, we deal with guns and we deal with ammo every day, but it's what we don't know about them that gets us into trouble. Injuries, civil lawsuits, accidental discharges, misidentifications, lost prosecutions, and disciplinary issues. But gunlearn.com, they have your back. You can quickly become extremely firearm knowledgeable by simply learning 14 training modules from the convenience of your home or your office, or by attending a live seminar at gunlearn.com. You can also become a safe, accurate, and competent certified firearm specialist like our very own Captain Brett Bartlett and also attorney Ken Affiaco. Now, the course has had huge success in raising the bar of firearm knowledge, and GunLearn has been a trusted source since way back in 2011 by gun manufacturers, federal agencies, forensic organizations, and even police departments nationwide. Now, the founder, Dan O'Kelly, has got a deal for you. If you have your own agency, if you're a chief or a sheriff, you can actually host a seminar for absolutely no cost. It's an amazing opportunity. You go to gunlearn.com to get more information. And again, that site is gunlearn.com. All right, guys, 2 minutes before we come back to the radio portion. All right, and moving right along. Wow. You know, I was gonna say, I was gonna say something, and I forgot what it was, but it'll come back to me. But it was something about one of the stories. Ralph had said something about one of the was it cross training? Not cross dressing, cross training. Can't remember what it was, but it was. It'll come back to me, Ralph. It'll probably be after the show's over and you guys are already doing your own thing. But
just call me.
Looked like a gang signal when you did something like that, Ralph. I don't know.
The phone.
Yeah, I know what that means. Oh, good times.
Yeah.
So I was looking at the commentary here. We've got Marty Mayberry saying that his department just got body cams finally. So, wow, I was talking about them rolling ours out, 13, 14 years ago. And you guys are getting them. So good for you guys, Marty. Yeah.
I'll tell you, Chip and Jeff and the audience, when I got moved from narcotics into Men's Central Jail, you remember that, Jeff, right? You know that jail. I started the body-worn cameras from Axon. It was a very elementary one at the time because there was so much scrutiny on Men's Central Jail and use of force, Jeff and Chip. And it was on here, but it had only a narrow vision. It didn't work out well. But now, guess what? Now the new sheriff has got the much more, they're testing the much more advanced Axon right now in Men's Central Jail.
We have those in Tampa. I found out at the academy on Friday that we're using the same body cam. So, all right, guys, we're going back in. Here we go. All right, guys, and welcome back. Leo Roundtable at leoroundtable.com, the law enforcement talk show. My name is Chip the Block, and I'm your host. We're joined by former LAPD Commander Lieutenant Jeff Winninger and former Chief, all the way from California, Ralph Ornelas. So thanks for being on the show, gentlemen. We've been talking about an ICE shooting that happened in Texas about a year ago. Kind of hearing most of that information for the first time, but we talked about, even though the article, as heavily slanted as it was, not in favor of the shoot, they didn't really, a year later, the video that they're playing their, putting all their bets on the cards they have. It's not really pulling it off. It doesn't really back up what they're saying. If you guys are ready, we've got another video involving some deputies. So at rumble.com, this is Butter again, our favorite law enforcement video channel. We have a Charles County deputies. They fatally shoot a machete wielding guy during an arrest. And it looks like we're in Maryland on this one, in Charles County. So two Charles County Sheriff's Office deputies reportedly shot and killed a guy on Wednesday evening. The officers responded to White Plains. They're serving a DV warrant, and it's 2:30 in the afternoon. And it said they ended up firing their guns, hitting this guy. Officers said the guy approached the deputies with a machete moments before the shooting, and despite medical efforts, he was declared dead at the scene. And going back to my notes, this goes down pretty quickly. I recommended that you guys just start watching 10 seconds in, and the suspect appears at the 20-second mark, and he's got a machete. And we've got our main cop, or our main deputy that's got wearing the body cam. I love to see rifles now with these guys. And so we have one deputy who's outfitted with a rifle, department issued rifle, and it looks like an AR, and the other guy's got his pistol out. And even though we don't have the sound really activated until the guy ends up getting shot, our deputy takes care of business with the rifle, with this guy, that's got the machete. And it's really, it creates, in my opinion, the rifle creates a safer environment. I mean, it's safer for the deputy, but also for the surrounding people when you have a bad backdrop. And I'm not saying there was a bad backdrop in this situation, but it allows you to get more shots on target, because we know as cops, we're not the best shots, right? And so I just love to see this guy from Charles County, that the sheriff has outfitted his cops with rifles. So commentary on this one, guys? Anybody? Jeff Winninger.
Yeah, every tactical situation you can look at and you can debrief it and find things that you did well, and then find things that you can improve upon. This one, it's kind of difficult because I have no idea what was known to the deputies prior to arriving at the scene. But the one thing that I did note was that when they were exiting their vehicles, they were a little close to this suspect. What I would have liked to have seen is oftentimes we deploy a couple houses away. We used to always say that your handgun is for surprise situations, and you want to bring a long gun in the event that you anticipate something could escalate to the point where deadly force may be necessary. But that would have afforded you the opportunity to have some time moving to cover, be able to communicate, better assess and evaluate what was going on. Because most importantly, they were in a critical situation where their lives were at risk. When this guy drew that I'm going to call it a sword, man. I mean, it's just out from his pants. I mean, it was on. You could just improve perhaps on how you deployed. But like I said, there may have been extra circumstances where they knew they had to get right in on it. So it's hard to be critical.
Thank you for that, Jeff. But also I'll add to it is, number one, Jeff mentioned distance is time. I've always trained my trainees, or when I worked out in the field, but in a one-person car, distance is time to give me opportunity to think things out. Number one. Number two, the other thing I would have communicated if Jeff and I were partners in one-person vehicles. I say, Jeff, I got the rifle, you got the rifle. I'm gonna use the 40 caliber first to see if we can take this guy down. The reason why I say that, the way, Chip, what's going on right now in this day and age, they look at what preceded the use of deadly force, right? So I would always try to be the Steven Spielbergs of this movie, right? To at least have on site a less than lethal of deadly force first to use. And that's where the distance and time gives you that opportunity to do it. And that's the only thing I would criticize. The other thing I like what one of the officers said, hey, let's get some people to check the background drop, because that AR-15 might have went through the guy, or maybe a couple of rounds went by. Check on the citizens. That's so important, because God forbid if somebody laying in bed, worked early mornings, is sleeping and gets a brown through the head. So, so there's a lot of things that are good. The other thing I got to say is they hit him 3 times in the body, and they were trying to hesitate on the radio. The guy was dead. I mean, the guy got hit in the head. I understand they have to do that for the body worn cameras and the sealing of the chest, but I'm telling you, we're all experts here. We're all been around.
Yeah,
The guy was dead.
Yeah, we, I'm trying to avoid sounding insensitive. We've all been there at those scenes where you get there, the guy's gurgling already, and he's or you're doing chest compressions and you're just making him bleed out faster. You've got you just know but I know there's optics and stuff, and people expect you to be working on people even though you've got an injury that the guy's not going to come back for, or if you did, there's going to be so much damage, that he's going to wish he was dead, but it's, I know exactly what you're saying.
Well, we've got the amount of blood around his head you could tell. I mean, there's so much blood around his head.
I've got two stories I'd like to get to real quick, if it's okay with you guys. If you guys will let me take the lead on this one. The San Diego deputy convicted in the fatal shooting, lawofficer.com. I know we've only got about 3 minutes, so I'll try to do a minute and a half for each one of these, but this federal jury has convicted this guy, San Diego County Sheriff's Department Deputy Aaron Richard Russell, in the fatal shooting of an unarmed guy. Basically, this is outside the jail. They're transporting this guy, and he ends up fleeing and breaking away from the cops and stuff. And this deputy ends up shooting him, and they end up charging him with him. So they said it was a California State Parks officers had taken the guy into custody earlier in the afternoon, and the parks officer approached him. He's at the park. It's closed. It's COVID, and the guy later he's caught, searched, handcuffed, placed in the rear seat of a law enforcement car for transport. And it's uneventful until they get to the facility. And then he gets one hand free from his handcuffs, maneuvers his arm through a partially lowered window, and escapes and stuff. Any commentary on that cop getting jammed up for that shoot?
Yeah, real quickly. I mean, I gotta be honest with you. I've been in a situation like that at Bellflower Court. We had a guy that broke away, had one handcuff on, and what I always say when you go to the academy, the 5 C's. Contain, coordinate, control, command, and communicate. We brought in a helicopter. We had canine. I'm not going to let my special problems people, a guy that's got one handcuff, his back to him, shoot a guy through the back. He's escaped. Use the 5 C's, helicopter, canine. The canine let loose, bit the crap out of him. Guess what? We didn't kill the guy.
Excellent. Well, look, lastly, and perfect timing, Ralph, this next one, California's epic record-keeping fail, nearly 500,000 criminal cases not properly reported. Los Angeles County, so this is your responsibility, because we're talking about Los Angeles County, Ralph. The Los Angeles County Superior Court quietly disclosed that nearly 500,000 criminal cases dating back to 1965 were never properly reported to the state due to a technical error. Now, I'm going to skip through all the red tape. I'm going to get to the last paragraph. The implications of this, because this is what it really means, the implications of this backlog extend to employers across the state of California who rely on the state DOJ background checks for hiring people for decades, particularly between 1986 and 2006, when the bulk of these unreported cases occurred. Individuals with felony or misdemeanor convictions may have passed live scan fingerprint screenings unscathed, potentially landing jobs in sensitive fields like education, healthcare, and even security. Ralph, and Jeff, you work there too.
Incompetence. And I say that not with, it breaks my heart, but incompetence.
Yeah.
Jeff?
I got nothing.
Well, you hear some of this stuff and you just think, wow. Because I was trying to think, well, how bad could this really have been? And then I get to that last paragraph and I'm like, oh, wow. People getting into all kinds of jobs. So yeah. Hey, another great show. Thank you so much, Chief, for being on the show, Chief Ralph Ornelas. And guys, if you guys want anything on fentanyl, Narcan, that's the man. Book him in California, in the state of California, and former LAPD commander, Lieutenant Jeff Winninger. And I know that Jeff's got his book too. That is On Thin Ice at onthinicebook.com. You guys can check that out as well. And how's the book doing, Jeff?
No, it's doing well, and you can pick it up on Amazon or anywhere they sell books.
All right. I love it. And guys, a shout out to our sponsors, Gulls, our title sponsor at Gulls.com, also CompliantTechnologies.com, our satellite sponsor. We have Gunlearn.com and Medicare.live, Safeguard Recruiting, and Two Bells have built a new online store. Check out the online store, guys. We appreciate the support. We'll see you back tomorrow, 12 noon Eastern. And we're going to keep going for about another minute and a half to keep the satellite company happy. But any final words to our listeners, guys? Ralph, you want to give the date for your book, Ralph?
Yeah, no, I got no book yet. But what I want to show everybody is a map that I use all the time. And what it shows the precursors and analogs coming into Mexico in the northern port of Mexico, Manzanillo port, which is controlled by the Sinaloa cartel. And the southern port is Lázaro Cárdenas port, which is run by the cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación. And I say that to you all because this is what's coming through from China, the northern province of China, into those two ports. And then they go into clandestine laboratories and they're buried in the ground or commercial buildings and punching out these illicit, illegitimate pills and selling them on Snapchat, killing our youth of our country. And 75% is coming through the San Diego border.
Wow. Yeah, I read these Mexican gangs they're serious, or these Mexican cartels, they're serious. They're bad dudes. They're violent, bad dudes. Yeah. So.
When I was sent to Tijuana to work with Lieutenant Julio Lezola in 2010 and 2012, I used to drive with him in an armored vehicle. He had to slung over him a submachine gun. This man from the military, he tried to restructure the team, and he did a good job in Tijuana. He was so successful, they brought him to Ciudad Juarez. And the United States government moved his whole family in the United States someplace. And I think he left Ciudad Juarez, is now in the United States because he did such really unbelievable work. And what a great man, really great man.
Wow. Well, guys, you need to write that book, Ralph. So
I need Jeff to help me.
Yeah.
I need Jeff. Jeff is more illiterate. I'm very verbal, so Jeff knows how to write.
Well, guys, everybody, Facebook and Rumble and YouTube, thanks for watching, guys. We appreciate it. And I'm just checking up all the postings and stuff on all the platforms. So we'll look for you guys tomorrow, 12 noon Eastern. We're going to be live all this week, so please keep watching the show, and we'll see you tomorrow, 12 noon Eastern.